Between two fountains. I guess that's what it's called. The graphic says that. We spent 8 months deciding what to call this thing. I guess it's Between Two Fountains. Welcome to it for the first time ever. I'm Mick Shaffer, and that's Greg Gurley. How are you, Greg?
I'm great, buddy. How are you?
It's not Blumpkin and the Bear. I'm sorry about that.
I like that one. I got to see Mick last night.
Did.
He blessed Allen Fieldhouse with his presence and was doing some shots while I was preparing for the game. But he didn't
What's your
invite me to
prep
come
work
on the
like
air.
for the game?
You what?
You do the boards like Brian does, because he famously has his boards, right? He's got the manila envelope or whatever, and he'll write his markers in certain colors and all that stuff. He makes his notes and his footnotes and all that stuff. Do you get that in depth?
I'm kind of a feel guy. I think you know me well enough that I work with the most prepared guy in radio broadcasting. And I don't want to say I'm the least, because I'm sure there's others, but
You have to counter him, though.
I have a good memory, and so I'm good with stuff. He provides me with his boards that he writes up. They're just, pronunciation, stats, last few games, whatever, which helps significantly. And so I think after 10 years, we're pretty good back and forth. And again, unprepared and prepared thing works.
You like puzzle pieces. You're like a marriage.
I'll ask you, does it work? I know you're an avid listener and you enjoy start to finish, hour before, hour and a half post game. You never miss a word.
Stop. I love your pregame interviews, your postgame interviews with Bill, all that stuff. No, it absolutely works. And look, you guys have different roles too, right? He's the information guy. You're the guy who played. You're the guy to tell everybody why that just happened, what you think about what just happened on the court, as opposed to, hey, this guy averaged this many points in high school. He has this stat. He can do this. He's from this location. That's Brian's job. You're the color analyst. And they're very different jobs. It was actually an honest question, because I've always done the play-by-play side, not the, hey, I played at a high-level side. And so I've always kind of wondered what the modus operandi was for you.
You're exactly right. I mean, that's the way the roles work out. And I have the easy job, because the hard job is keeping everything going. The play-by-play guy that has to, always fill time. I can just chime in whenever I want and act like I know what I'm talking about. And it's, it is to describe the play, or, hey, he went low on the ball screen and Darren flared out and had a wide open look. Like that's what you got to convey to the listeners. And then, but Brian, from advertisers to, in and out, when you come in from a break and go out for it, it's timing. And then, the chemistry between you and your partner has to be there, because you don't want to talk over each other. And so I think it works. And last night was fun. I mean,
it worked last night, did it not?
Well, those games
Whatever magic you guys had going on.
Those games are so fun to call, because there's action, there's rhythm, there's momentum, the crowd's in it. I mean, West Virginia on Saturday, not fun. 18-0 run on the road at a place you should win, a place that we've struggled to win, and we proved it again on Saturday. And so a lot of soul searching, flying home from that, state, and players only meeting. You always hear that after a team struggle. And Bill in his press conference last night said, I didn't even know about that, but if they met, then they ought to meet more, because we
do it every week.
Yeah.
Do it every week. Well, it's funny. You came up to me before the game last night and you're like, these are the games we win, I kind of feel like, right? And a lot of times those ones in Morgantown or Orlando, where you don't always have the guys' highest attention, and the opposing team definitely has all the attention in the world because it's KU and there's a bullseye there. You don't always win those games, but you came up last night. Like, I feel like this is the game we win. I'm like, I think it's gonna be closer than maybe it should be, considering the records and maybe the talent dispersion, all that stuff. But it was a blowout from start to finish.
Well, and the Bill's not an underdog at home ever. Well, I say ever.
12-2 against top 5 teams at home.
Right.
12-2.
So it's one of those things that
13-2 now, I guess.
I guarantee you, TJ Otzelberger and his team weren't thinking this is going to be easy. I mean, they understand it, and TJ's been around long enough to know that, throw all that stuff out the window, and it proved out last night. And because Kansas was engaged and there was activity, there was energy, and they were diving on the floor, team defensive possessions, forcing turnovers, getting easy ones on the other end. The game started out with, I think, four out of five possessions. They got layups or dunks. And then you start to build it out a little bit. There's Flory in the post, and the ball moves, quick decisions. And again, on the other end, forcing turnovers. And, he played from out front. We were playing with fire for the last couple of weeks, and we got burned twice because we're on the road, hostile environment, things don't go your way, and it's hard to come back. It was a miracle to beat TCU. Could have been coming into this game. So Allen Fieldhouse won that game for us last Tuesday, but the guys won it last night.
Yeah, I thought that was the best they played. Bar none. You had Darren mixed in, but he had 6 points at halftime. You're still up by 20 points. I feel like everybody who played, and it's a smaller rotation now, right? It's 7. There's a couple of odd men out there. I don't know if that's going to stay that way, but all 7 contributed last night.
Yeah, 4 out of the 5 starters were in double figures. Bryson had 8, Elmarko had 8, Jamari had 8. So only played 7, which is something to look at. A lot of things going on. I didn't really notice that Cole Rosario didn't play last night. Jaden Dawson's been kind of the odd man out, but Cole has been getting real minutes, and they decided to bring that rotation, unless there was foul trouble or something, but played 7 guys. And the guy that just doesn't get talked about enough, even though he's overanalyzed because of his high school career, McDonald's All-American, he had the injury last year, is Elmarko Jackson.
Yeah.
Elmarko made 1 field goal last night, but impacted the game as much as anybody on that team. He made the hustle play that even though things were going well, he just dove on the ground. They worked the ball around. Trey hit a 3, and it was the play of the game. And talking to Bill in my post game, he mentioned that as well. I was getting ready to ask him about that play, and he goes, before I could even get to that question, he goes, that was the play of the game. And so Elmarko is figuring out his role. Like, I think he really struggled early on, thinking he had to be the offensive punch. Good offensive player when he's getting downhill, but that's not his game. It's defense, it's stealing the ball, it's penetration, making the extra pass, and that all showed last night.
Definitely. And now you look forward on the schedule here. We're talking about, February and how much of a bear it is, but I feel like January is more important because, you're going to play these big time teams. You're playing Iowa State again. You got Arizona twice, Houston, everybody else. But this stretch coming up here, Greg, of Baylor at Colorado, at K-State, leading into that BYU game that kind of leads into February, I think it's just huge. You could really get right there, or things could go south there. Bill said it best. A lot of leagues, when they're great, they're top heavy and they're bottom heavy. This league is top heavy and middle heavy. There's nobody out there. Like Colorado kind of sneered at him, and they're like 12-4, right? And then Baylor's a team that could beat anybody in this league. Doesn't matter if you're not ranked. You're absolutely capable in this league. I feel like those are kind of like, you talk about Saturday in a golf tournament is moving day. I feel like those few games are kind of like moving the moving part of the schedule for KU.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. We got Baylor on Friday night, and then we go to Colorado, which, all right, we kind of look at it, or if you don't look at it, you go, all right, it's Colorado. We won there last year. Tad's got them going. They got a good team. They lost to Texas Tech at home on Saturday by 2 and should have won. There was a couple calls late in the game that didn't go their way, and Texas Tech's really good. So, hey, don't sleep on Colorado. Don't sleep on Baylor at home. They hung 94 on Oklahoma State last night at Oklahoma State. Kind of an upstart Oklahoma State, but Baylor punched them in the mouth last night, and we get them on Friday. So there's those peaks and valleys throughout the year. And Baylor, back in April or May, they had like 0 guys on their roster. Edgecombe went to UVA, Robert Wright went to BYU, and the rest of their team graduated or transferred. So Scott Drew didn't have a team in like June, and then they built it. It's going to take a while. They're obviously in the news because of the player that they got that was drafted in the NBA. But hey, Scott Drew is a really, really good coach. He's going to have them ready. That's a good ball team. And now we got to play Friday, go to Colorado. To your point, Mick, though, Baylor, then at Colorado, then at K-State. And K-State, nothing's going well right now, but
that'll be it could be like, backed into a corner type game for them.
And you don't have to hit the rewind button too far. Last 2 years, Kansas, an NCAA tournament team, back-to-back losses in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Kansas was the better team. I don't think anyone would argue with that, but K-State was able to figure out how to beat us at their place. And so we gotta find a way to win on the road. And in the last 3 years, we just haven't done that.
Yeah.
And,
no, it's toughness. It's a mindset. You can find a way to shut your dog up. How about that? All right. So we're not just talking about KU stuff here on this podcast. We're going to talk about all things Kansas City. And what I thought was that so they announced a press conference yesterday for the Royals at 2 p.m. I'm like, we've already talked to all their new signees, the free agent guys we've spoken with. I'm like, it's got to be a Vinny Pasquantino extension or something like that. Well, it turns out they're moving the fences in at Kauffman Stadium. And that was intriguing to me. That was interesting. So I made sure to get to the press conference and hear all about it. At first, I'm like, all right, it's going to be, let's do Wrigley Field. Let's do Yankee Stadium. Let's make it 315 down each line. Let's bring it in, 390 to center. Not that drastic. Roughly 8 to 10 feet all the way around, moving it in. And they're dropping it from roughly 10 feet to 8.5 feet or all the way around. But it's enough of a change, according to the R&D guys, the analytics guys, to make a difference in the Royals offense for how at least the roster is constructed now. What do you think about this? I love homers. I love excitement. The Kauffman Stadium's never really provided that. I've always wanted these fences to move in.
Yeah. Doubles and triples aren't nearly as exciting as home runs. And then this is a double and triple ballpark. They're trying to bring it in to create. What's chicks dig the long ball?
They do, but the cool thing is they've crunched all the numbers. They had all the nerds in there yesterday, and it's really, really intriguing stuff because baseball is the most analytical of all sports. And they're like, look, we found a happy medium to get some more homers, also get some more robbed homers, because jumping over an 8.5 foot fence is a lot easier than 10 feet. Right. It used to be 13 feet there. You had a, Jordan in center field. But then also they believe they're going to keep the doubles and the triples roughly the same. So I'm like, okay.
Well, the other factor too that you didn't mention is we got a great pitching staff, and even
they don't want to piss them off too much.
No, but we have the ability to have a great pitching staff and not as worried about bringing it in 10 feet for our opponents. But I like it. It's something that will again create a little excitement. We're talking about the Royals in January, which I'm excited. I don't know. I'm a lifelong Royals fan. I've been going to that ballpark since I was a kid, and I'm excited to see the change. Met the new president, Colin Maxey, the other night. Seems like a great guy, and he's going to do some great things with the Royals. So, frustrating year last year, but love this roster, and they've got there's a lot of excitement around this town, and they got an opportunity to get back in the playoffs next year and do something.
You want to take a guess on? They said there was one player who was most negatively impacted by the current setup of the fences, where they are now, the dimensions of Kauffman Stadium. Guess what Royal was most negatively impacted by his stats by playing 81 games in there?
Salvi? Not Bobby.
Bobby.
He was negatively impacted with where
That's I feel like that's the biggest reason for the move. I mean, all right, how can we help out Bobby Moore? Okay, this right
yeah,
here. And
yeah.
honest, I mean, it's crazy in that like he's the best player, he has the best offensive stats, but they're like, I'm sure they looked at him like, oh crap, he had 5 home runs robbed, right? Or he could have had a few more doubles if this fence was lower or all that stuff. And so
And I like what you said about the bringing the height down. I think that will make more big plays, catching home run balls possibly. And
that's both defense and offense, right? Because if the fielder's there, right, you can bring it back. If the fielder's not there, that ball that's going off the wall is now clearing.
Now, there is some excitement about Kauffman Stadium where it is currently placed as
it's a Band-Aid. This is a temporary move here.
This is a Band-Aid, and now all the talk over the next 6-8 months by the state of Missouri has to be, all their efforts have to be into preserving the Royals in Missouri, right?
I would think so. I mean, my take on this whole deal is that swift and sudden move that altered a lot in Kansas City and made a lot of people mad, a lot of people happy, from Missouri to Kansas for the Chiefs, on one hand, should ignite a fire under Jackson County and Kansas City, Missouri, and the Missouri side to say, we don't want to lose another one of these teams. Let's figure out a way to make the Royals happy and keep the Royals at home. On the other side, Kansas has to be like pulling their pockets out and being like, okay, do we have enough money to make another run of the Royals here? We just gave, $1.8 billion to the Chiefs. Maybe we just kind of slow our roll. So I think it's the best case scenario for me. I always thought the best move was Chiefs to Kansas, over by the Legends where they're going, and for the Royals to move downtown. I still hope that's in the cards.
Totally agree. And that's what should happen. And hopefully it does.
You're from down by the 119th. I don't see a baseball stadium down there.
No, I live out that way. And the other day, it was a Tuesday, I got off 435 and I'm on Knoll heading south. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, traffic was horrible.
Horrible. I go to radio there 3 times a week. There's a stoplight every block, and it takes me 10 minutes, and I'm like 2.2 miles away.
Yeah, I did that one. When they first announced that, I'm like, wait, number one, where? And then you go look at the space, and you're like, all right, you can maybe squeeze it in there. But man, I, as a Leawood snob that I am, no, if they take my vote, it's a no. And everyone's so up in arms about this Arrowhead deal, or Missourians, or that's what you call them. I mean, I always say to them, you know how many games the New York Giants and the New York Jets have played in the state of New York? 0.
Yeah.
Well, I take it back. Maybe in the 100 years ago, but
back then. But no, they've been in the Meadowlands, East Rutherford, New Jersey forever, for
2 different stadiums. And so I know it is what it is.
Still in Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah.
The area. The Bills don't play in Buffalo. They play in Orchard Park. There's a million examples. I mean,
Foxborough.
LA Rams and Chargers are in Inglewood. I mean,
I know,
in suburbs all the time.
Yeah, the New England Patriots. Yeah.
But again, it's still in Kansas City. Kansas City, Kansas.
And it's good for the city. I mean, it's going to be basketball games, concerts. I mean, we're going to have a 65, 70,000 seat stadium to have the big concerts and the big events, and maybe a regional, maybe a Final Four. Obviously,
dream bigger, baby. Final Four, Super Bowl, let's go.
Correct. So, no brainer if everything worked out. I'm glad it did. People are pissed. They'll get over it. And I'll challenge a lot of them when I ask them, hey, you gonna come to games even though it's in Kansas? I bet you they do.
Bet you do, because Kansas have been going for a long time. That's my argument. I'm like, look, if the stadium was originally built, at 63rd and Winchester, they wouldn't have been called the Raytown Chiefs, right? If the stadium was originally in Raytown, it would have still been the Kansas City Chiefs. They weren't called that because they were in Kansas City. It's the metro area.
And if you want to be honest about it, it kind of reverts back to the hatred between the 2 states. Like, this is their platform to be mad at us and vice versa. Why would you get the Kansas City Chiefs? They've been in Missouri forever. And it's just like, if it was, I think Kansas and Missouri, University of Kansas, University of Missouri, have a little bit to do with this because not a lot of Kansas fans live in the state of Missouri. We have our pockets up north, and there's some St. Louis, but it's a pretty clear.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard and fast dividing line.
And so I think that plays into it a little bit, just the hatred. But if I'm Missouri, I go buy a big mirror and look in it because this is now the third NFL team they've lost.
I mean, they had a vote. They had a vote last year to renovate Arrowhead, to move the Royals downtown, and and you can make an argument. Okay, if one was out and the other was just about one, it could have passed, and it could have, but it was a landslide. It was like 60-40. That's in voting. In voting terms, that is a blowout. That is KU over Iowa State last night.
Yeah, and I didn't think I mean, we're the only city in America that renovates stadiums multiple times. There's 5 or 6 examples in the NFL right now that have built 2 new NFL stadiums since Arrowhead was built.
Tennessee,
you look at the Tennessee Titans. You look all over the place, and so like renovation. I'm not going to use the word polish a turd because Arrowhead's still great, and it will be great for another 5 years. But it's got some. My thinking is, I think they got in there when they were preparing for the World Cup and started digging up what they had to dig up, and they're like, "Ooh, this is not the infrastructure we thought it was." And you got to look in a renovation. You got to look 20 years down the road, and I think, and I easily could be wrong, I usually am, but they dug that up and they're like, oh, I don't know.
It would have been a conversation like you said, that we would have had 20 years from now, yet again, to put a Band-Aid on it. And so far it's accomplished everything I wanted, which was keep the teams in Kansas City, which I don't think the Chiefs leaving were a huge threat, and also get a dome stadium for the Chiefs. I hope it's a retractable roof. I love outdoor football, but I also love the option of bringing a Final Four here, bringing a Super Bowl here. And with the the relationship between the NFL and the Hunt family, I think we would get a Super Bowl by 2035. I think it'd be quick. You might even still be alive then.
Ooh. You brought up Dome Stadium. That's why it's crazy to me that in Buffalo, they're not doing a dome. Kansas City's one thing. Think about Buffalo. And I know they have some sort of fancy pants snow removal roof thing, but there's still not it's kind of like old Cowboy Stadium. It surrounds the fans and then the field is exposed. Yeah. So,
it's a huge, home field advantage for them there. And I think, the only reason, like I said, I would want it is for other stuff. Other events, not necessarily the Chiefs. Although Miami playoff game, that was just dumb. That was ridiculous. We didn't need to be doing any of that. None of us needed to be out there at all. That was what was like. Everybody's like, "What are we doing here?" It was just that was bad. It was the coldest I've ever been.
Yeah, I didn't go for that reason.
For that reason. All right, so. College football playoff is going. I love it. I love now that it's expanded. I would get it to 16 and cut it off there, but 12 is great. It's a lot better than what we had. And I think we're finding out, especially in this transfer portal era, that, hey, maybe we should have had teams 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in this playoff all along. And we were so short-sighted for so long to have 2. And then we expanded it to 4. And even though we have 5 power conferences, and it's going to be all half or more of the SEC every single year. So I'm so glad we have it now. We can actually see, you know what? There's 2 lost teams that can make it to a championship game. And there's a team like Indiana who has come out of nowhere in this sport and is probably going to boat race Miami. I'm going to bet, I'm going to take that line up, get some more points, and bet Indiana to just roll in that game. Question for you, because I've heard it around the internet, and we kind of lived this too growing up in Kansas. What's a better football turnaround? Cignetti at Indiana or Bill Snyder at K-State?
I saw that question, and I've thought a lot about it. What Bill Snyder did was unreal. Kansas State like Kansas in the mid to late 80s, awful. Like,
Yeah.
they were both 0-win teams playing each other in like the 11th game. I mean, it was horrible.
They
And
tie one year, like 88, I want to
yeah,
say. They tie
you couldn't even
both
interpret
0-10 and
that.
1 or something like that.
Yeah. So what he did, not just in 2 years, but over the course of his career,
Yeah.
best turnaround I've ever seen. Did it with class. A lot of friends played at K-State. Massive respect for what they did and well-deserved. What Cignetti has done in 2 years is more impressive. Now, I think there's some asterisks on that because of the ability to do that with money, transfer portal, and all that were things that
100%.
it's hard to compare the two because what Bill Snyder did was long-term, because you got guys, you developed them. They may not have played their freshman and sophomore year because you could keep guys. And then by a junior, you're like, all right, who's this kid from freaking Abilene or whatever, So it's hard to compare the two, but obviously taking over a bad program and within 2 years playing for a national championship, more impressive as far as results short term. But I'm with you. I think they're going to boat race Miami, even though they have a good defense. Cignetti's such a interesting guy to watch, listen to, body language when he's on the sideline. Yeah. I mean, he looks like Dan Aykroyd and Tommy Boy. He's got a little Linsky to him. He's got the flat top, and he's the line of all press conferences. Like, look at him. He's like, I'm not even like, good try. We kicked your ass, and it's just, it's like a cute effort. But the line, what was it? What he said? The reporter says, why do you think you can do this? He goes, Google me.
I win.
I'm amazing. Like the cockiest answer ever.
Yeah. Look, that's gonna play. Everybody loves it, right? Because he's new and everybody's kind of pulling for upstart Indiana. But we've seen this with the Chiefs. When Indiana wins 2 of the next 3 national titles, and he's still doing that stuff, then it'll get old. Everybody will hate him. And then when he drops a 7-5 season in Bloomington, because that happens to all great coaches, right? Then the fans will turn. They'll hate that stuff. So I've seen it play out. I can see the future. But yeah, I'm all on board with him now. And I feel like Kansas State's floor was lower. Talking turnaround, K-State was lower. They were moribund. They were lower than Indiana was 4 years ago, right? But Cignetti has obviously made a higher ceiling than Snyder did. I mean, Snyder was on the doorstep of the national championship, and look, had they had the 4-team playoff then, well, maybe it would have taken 8 or 12. In 1998, maybe K-State wins it all. But they haven't got to the championship game like Indiana is this year. And, of course, Indiana's done it so much quicker. But the huge asterisk there is, okay, you can now. You said these are mercenaries. You can bring in for 1-year contracts. Anyway, their average age is 23 years old. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in Manhattan or Bloomington. Recruiting's a lot easier when you can write a check. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can withstand the winters here in middle of nowhere, whatever. And so that's a totally different deal. But I don't think it's a slight on either one of them to put them in the kind of the same category as the biggest turnarounds in college football history. I thought the funniest tweet I saw was for 150 years, Indiana was the worst team in college football. And in 2 years, they're now in the national championship game. And after the NIL starts in the national championship game, the only conclusion you can draw is that for 150 years, Indiana didn't know you could pay players under the table like everybody else was. So.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that the SEC hasn't been in the national championship game now in 3 years.
Yeah.
And all we hear,
I'm all for it.
You turn on all the yelling shows in October and November on ESPN, and it's Feinbaum and all these guys just talking about the SEC, and it just hasn't
And they had 5 opportunities of these 12 teams. They had almost half the field. And they were bitching and moaning they didn't get 2 others, right? They wanted Vanderbilt and Texas to be in there. And so now with the portal, NIL, everything's spread out. I don't know if it continues this way, if you can have a dynasty. I think it could be a different team each and every year here. And so I'm all for it. I would have liked to have seen, I talked about this on 810 the other day. I would have liked to have seen, because this all happened at the same time. The portal era happened at the same time of playoff expansion. I would have liked to have seen playoff expansion 10 years ago before we were doing it, to see if, okay, you know what? Even though Alabama and Georgia have half the first round of the NFL draft, there's more to it than that. There's coaching, there's there's special teams, there's backups, there's, being able to handle a game day, all that stuff. Had that happened 10 years ago, maybe we have a couple more, I don't know, Oklahoma's winning it, or USC's, or, Big Ten teams or something like that, as opposed to, what was it, basically Alabama, Georgia, Clemson for about a decade there. But it's all happened at once, and so we're seeing everything spread out.
Yeah, and I think you could draw some parallels to that example with the way the NCAA has handled athletes. The stubbornness of the bowl system and the stubbornness of the NCAA not allowing revenue sharing with players for years and years and years and years got us to where we are today.
Yeah.
The college football playoff is the right decision. 2 teams wasn't right. 4 teams wasn't right. The only sport in sports that doesn't have a playoff system was college football, because they had to take care of guys with orange sport coats on that work year round in Scottsdale and wanted the Fiesta Bowl to happen, or the Orange Bowl, or all the way that was set up was great in the 60s and the 70s. And then really, for a while, but when television got to where it's at and the popularity, and nobody was willing to budge to change the old guard. And again, you draw a parallel with that when you think about paying players. And, it's now rearing its ugly head, because they were just like, all right, last year you couldn't buy a plate of pasta for a kid at a restaurant, or you got suspended for 5 games. Now you can pay him $1 million to go to your granddaughter's birthday party and play pin the tail on the donkey. So they just said, I'm going to squeeze all the toothpaste out of the tube and just go.
Pendulums usually swing too far the other way. Yeah.
They didn't baby step. They didn't start, ease into it. It was just like nothing to everything. And so I think the playoff system, have it even bigger. I mean, why does it work? It's still the smallest
playoff out there in all levels of football. D2 has 32 teams. Right. FCS has 24. D3's got like 32. And they all have 130, 150 teams in their division.
And we've seen it around here with Pitt State and Northwest Missouri State. As you follow those, and I know you do, as they go through that playoff system, it's fun. Yeah. You're playing teams from wherever that you wouldn't play. Like, I just don't understand why it hadn't happened yet. 12 seems good, and maybe it should be 16. But if you have 16, the 17th and 18th team, Notre Dame is going to cry.
Well, you see it, and we do it every year in the NCAA tournament. But at the end of the day, okay, maybe who would be an example this year? Maybe a TCU is on the bubble, right? And at the end of the day, they get good wins over Florida and a couple other teams, but in the end, they get left out. They're the 69th team or whatever. We argue about it for a day, but at the end of the day, okay, that's a team that had plenty of opportunity to improve their record. They're a team with double-digit losses. They're a team that's probably not going to win the national title. We all move on. With football, for so many years, you're leaving out teams that are like, no, I think this is the best team, right? I think they could win a national title. You got to put the best teams in there and the most deserving. And I think college football is finally figuring that out.
And before
we get out of here, I have a question for you. I went to volleyball games. My daughter plays volleyball, so I'm at a lot of volleyball games this weekend. And then futsal. Do you know what futsal is, Greg?
I kind of do, but it never.
Baby soccer.
Okay.
Baby soccer.
Yeah.
Indoors, though.
Okay.
So that's fine. It's my little cousin's kid.
And it's like indoor, like in a gymnasium, not necessarily a soccer
and
field.
a gym on a basketball court. Smaller ball, smaller court, smaller goal.
Okay.
Less players. A lot of action, though.
Okay.
A little more fun than soccer, if you ask me, to watch. But what, because you had daughters that grew up, I know, playing volleyball and probably some other sports. You did yourself. What's the best youth sport to attend, and what are the worst youth sports to attend?
With daughters, we had a great time as parents watching them play volleyball. I would say the negative is early on, which also made it the worst when they were really, really young and everybody.
7 and 8 year old volleyball is the worst. Nobody
because
can
they aren't strong enough yet to get it over the net, and there were just service errors out the ass. Yes. So it was just like nobody could get it over the net. And we're like, what about like coach pitch baseball? We just throw the ball over and they hit it because it doesn't matter. No, we got to serve, got to serve, got to serve.
Well, I remember, and my daughter, at least, they moved the service line up. They were a lot closer to the net,
if
and
my
that helped
memory
out
serves me. I don't remember them doing that, which was part of the problem. I would welcome that idea. Now it wasn't all bad, but we'd leave volleyball games when they were in like second grade and be like, "Dad, this is no fun." It was just like it was like 25 to 23 every game, and there were 45 service errors, and you're like, okay. But then in the same breath, as they got older, most enjoyable sport to the camaraderie of the parents, the travel, you're there at 7 a.m. for an all-day tournament. So you better have a good crew of parents.
Parents are big.
We did. Yeah. So I would say we had a really good experience with volleyball. And Kansas City, I talked to our new volleyball coach, Matt Ulmer, just completed his first year. He came from Oregon, and he took this job, and he's like, hey, Kansas City might be the best concentration of Division I prospects in all of the country, which to me is kind of
Chicago for basketball, kind of. It's like Dallas for football.
Well, that's what's kind of interesting is that, I get it. Kansas City is great in volleyball, but not like Dallas or LA or, take your pick. But it is what it is. And so highly competitive local scene and club volleyball on a national level. Our kids were kind of mid-tier clubs, and again, great experience. Worst, which I kind of already covered, but also in that same breath, really young basketball was hard to watch, especially as a basketball player, because there was 59 jump balls and 62 travels per game in the score. I mean, it was just, again, it's the strength at a very, very young age that they didn't have yet. And that's what I worry about in youth sports. And you and I should do a whole show on youth sports, because as a guy that played at the highest level, I didn't do what kids are doing now. And I was fine. But now everybody's got to concentrate. And again, we should do this.
And that's the problem. I mean, back then nobody did, right? But now
when football season,
everybody else is doing it. So there's the pull to like, okay, I gotta do this year round.
Yeah, when football season was over, you played basketball. When basketball season was over, you played football. And in the summertime, you played all three. And then you just wash.
Yeah. And it was all in the schools, right? It was mostly in the schools, as opposed to football's about the only sport that's left only in the schools. It's all club.
So, mostly. But we should do that on Between Two Fountains, the name of the show that you and I labored for months and months and months. And people are going to watch this and be like, it took you months to come up with Between Two Fountains? Stupid.
You're looking at this very differently than I am. I'm all about comfort. So I love volleyball because it is indoors. What hurts it is we were there for 12 hours in Lawrence on Saturday. It can go all day long tournaments. I'm like, maybe we could spread this out. Nope.
One last
huge
thing.
Baseball family growing up. What's that?
The thing that bothers me about volleyball is when you finish a tournament and you're all ready to go home.
Got a ref.
you got a ref, and you're like,
You got a ref. You're down. You've lost in the semifinals. Your dreams of getting a medal or moving on to nationals are dashed. Oh, by the way, you need a ref right here. We need some side
and then
judges.
you're on the
over
line.
here,
You're
some
like,
judges.
I don't know. You're like out, in. I don't care. I am hungry and I want out of here.
Yes,
So,
that's what I was listening to. Well, so good and bad there. We were huge. My boys played baseball forever, which I love baseball, love the camaraderie of the parents. That is the worst of both worlds. It is outside, and it is always at least 20 degrees colder or 20 degrees hotter than what you want it to be out there. The wind, awfulness, and then again, you could be out there all freaking day long. So, man, you had to really like baseball for that. I didn't mind the futsal because it was indoors. It was fast paced. Football wasn't bad. Outdoors at any level, but it's one game, right? Whether it's youth, middle school, high school, college, you're in, you're out. And there's tailgating involved and all that stuff. Now, somehow indoors, that would make it better. So that's kind of how I weigh things. Is it indoors? How long does it take?
well, after all these points you and I both made, let's do this sometime and just dedicate a show about the positives and negatives of youth sports and how it all works, and we can get into annoying parents as well, which that happens a great deal in our youth sports journey. The college recruiting that parents think their kids are worthy of, and the ones that are and the ones that aren't, and the money they spend on lessons and posting highlights on all these different software platforms all throughout the web. And it's just, it drove me nuts. And my opinion on it is, hey, if you're good enough and you can play at a certain level, they're going to find you.
Sure.
And parents are so consumed by getting their kid a scholarship. And we live in nice and communities that we're going to probably pay for our kids' college. If they got a scholarship, great, but they probably still go to college. But I have seen it where like that's all these parents can think about now. I'm getting off on a tangent. We'll do it another time. But I'm very.
We haven't even started this show yet. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
All right, let's figure out a sign off. What's the sign off going to be?
We should have like a some sort of random question, or like I don't know, what do they do on some of the late shows, like, and now this, or like some sort of I like do you like fails on YouTube?
Sure.
I like to watch people have issues.
I mean, we don't have that right here. I'm just
I know, but you asked me what I thought, and I was just telling you. I mean, why don't we end the show with you and me arguing?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, yeah.
We could take our shirts off.
All right, see you next time on Between Two Fountains.